All right. Good morning on the West Coast, everybody, and the East Coast. Happy afternoon. It's Kai Deering with On the Fly with Kai, and I'm just so excited today. And we come to every single week, every Thursday, bring you tips, tricks, hacks for the entrepreneur. And I'm excited because today we were just talking. We've known each other for over a decade. I think it's been about 11 years. We kind of met networking. We've done some business sort of off and on together over the years. So I try to bring you people that I really know, that I've either used or they've worked with me, what have you. And today is no different. And my guest that's here in the studio with me, I'm kind of excited because this woman has 35 years of journalism experience, and she's using that now to really guide, business owners and mentor entrepreneurs to create a unique voice. Because let's face it, all of business is language, and the better that we can, as entrepreneurs, develop that voice and that message powerfully, the more successful we're going to be in business. So I'm going to bring to the show here Mary Knippel. We're happy to have you here over there in Half Moon Bay. Tell us a little bit about you and how you got started in this incredible 35-year career of yours.
Oh, thanks, Kai. I'm so excited to be here too. And I love sharing the story that I have been writing in a journal since I was 11. So I've always known that the power was at the end of the pen. It's a magic wand. It helps you get in touch with the stories that you've been holding inside. Having a conversation on paper with yourself lets you know yourself even more. But I wasn't encouraged to be a writer when it was time to go to college. It was, well, you can make a living as a secretary, so you should go and get a 1-year secretarial certificate. So that was my introduction to college. However, I never let go of that dream of studying journalism. And later in life, as a 30-year-old woman, I entered college as a freshman and got my degree and worked for shoppers, online magazines, print newspapers, and just fell in love with the stories that people tell about how they got to be doing what they do, and the incredible connection that there is between what they're doing and their heritage, that a lot of people don't realize. Oh, I've been doing this since I was a kid because I saw my grandparents do this, or there was a favorite uncle or someone influence them to be doing that and to continue to do it. So that's what I love, being able to help people open up to their heritage and the history of their story.
And you have a big fan, Mary Van Fleet. Just really, I can never say that. I'm so sorry. She just says she loves you. You're amazing. So you've got some fans here on the show today. It's funny because in my profession, they always say, if your why doesn't make you cry, and if you don't know why you're doing it, what's easy to do is easy not to do. And you kind of hit on that for just a hot second. And I know we talked about that too. So why is the why? Why is the why so important to folks? And share that a little bit with us, if you don't mind.
Well, your why is connected with the core message that you are here to deliver to the world, that there is something in that the universe has imparted to you, that it's your destiny or synchronicity, or however you want to uh, tune into it, is that this is what gives you the motivation to do what you do and to keep you doing it. And I firmly believe that whatever it is that we are here to deliver to the world, if we don't deliver that message, that there's someone that is not going to have the life that they were designed to have because they're missing information. So I like to give the idea, the vision of, there's this beautiful tapestry and there are all of these wonderful threads, and our individual story is a thread in that tapestry. And if we don't share what we've been designed to share, then that tapestry isn't complete. It's not whole, and the world is lacking part of the message that it keeps the world spinning.
It's interesting because we were talking about transparency and authenticity within your why. And what I find really interesting is it seems like it's so much more okay now than it's ever been to really tell your truth and tell your story. Have you noticed that as well? And how does that play into being able to be authentic and really excel your business?
Well, I believe that it's always been a core value that people with integrity who are in their profession to be of service, that they are going to be transparent and vulnerable with whatever they're doing, that they share their struggle with what it is that got them to be doing what they're doing. I mean, I'm the first one to tell you that it's scary to write your story and share it out there, to have somebody judge, oh, did that really happen to you? And why does it matter to me that you're talking about that? And we go back to the other story that I was telling, that I firmly believe that if you don't share what it is that is your core message, that somebody else won't have the life that they're supposed to have. You are here to impact someone, and the person who is speaking up and criticizing you probably isn't the person that you're meant to impact. You're here to impact that person that feels invisible and vulnerable and keeps them quiet because they're afraid of that critic. And it's just a fact of life that the critics are out there. And what compels us to move forward is that message that we can't help but share.
Wow. Okay. So I don't know if you know this or not, but over the holidays, I got a chapter in an anthology, and I actually spoke my truth for the very, very first time about why I do what I do. And I got to tell you, your critics, the haters, can be your own family.
Oh
They
yes.
were so offended that I would share that out into the world and let everybody see it. They won't speak to me. Many of them have unfriended me. I'm just like, I was kind of blown away by that. But you're talking about the truth of that. And it's so funny. So Mindy also says, so true. Because this is what happens. But I feel so much better about telling the story. And I told it in a huge way. Like, it was a bestseller. I mean, I went out there all the way. I was like, hey, this is really what happened. And if you can't handle it, but that is good that people know. So how do you walk people off the ledge? Because I know you're a book mentor. So when they're starting to feel like, I was feeling like, oh man, this is getting
Yes.
dicey, but I did it anyway. How do you coach them through that? Because that was really uncomfortable for me, for sure. And the fallout's still happening. I'm not going to lie.
No, and it's ongoing. The first thing is I tell them, I'm your cheerleader. I'm the first person to say your story matters, and no one can tell your story from your perspective except you. And then I'm an architect to help you build whatever you want to build, whether you're writing that chapter in an anthology, or you have an entire book, or there's a program, or you want to just update your website and your bio to talk about the stuff that you have just dismissed because, well, that's so ordinary. Everybody does that, and the fact is everybody doesn't. I mean, do you talk about your first job and how, and then you have the realization that you've been doing what you do your entire life? No, it didn't look the same when you were a 10-year-old kid as it does now, but if you could convince an adult to let you babysit a newborn, and your industry is sales, you've been doing sales your entire life, and that story belongs in your bio.
That's really, really interesting. And we talked about, being authentic, which is what I did in that book, which was frightening. That story really will help you be visible. And so how, if somebody's afraid, right? There's all these, I think I have a little dyslexia. I think it's funny now that I've got a chapter in two different books and I have a little borderline dyslexia. But, there's people like you that can help edit it. There's people that can help draw that story out of you. So what would you tell to somebody who's like, I think I have a story to tell, but I don't know how to get it out of me. I'm afraid. I don't know, what would you tell that person has a phobia of writing?
I would tell them that just like you build up those muscles by going to the gym and picking up weights. You wouldn't go in there and pick up a 50-pound weight and say, do it twice and oh, I'm svelte now, you start a writing practice. You get yourself a journal and a pen. You set a timer for 5 minutes, 15 minutes, the same time every day if possible. And you open up that journal, you write the date, so, and center yourself, and you say, ask a question. What does my journal want me to know today? Or how do I address this? Or what does my heart want me to know is a good one. And just let the pen go across the page until that timer goes off. I usually light a candle and I usually play the same music, but you don't have to do that. The main thing is that you build a writing practice for yourself, that writing routine, so that you every day you have a conversation with yourself on paper. And it's very important that you're doing it by hand. And yes, I realize that sometimes our handwriting isn't as legible as we would like it, but you don't have to go back and read that stuff. Nobody is going to be looking over your shoulder saying, you should have had a comma there. That word isn't spelled right. I don't believe that you have a complete sentence there. Don't worry about that. Get your thoughts out of your head and onto the page, and you'll be amazed at how many things will show up and get more clarity when you keep showing up on the page.
I totally agree. That's so true. And so I think that so there's a fear of telling your truth. There's a fear of where do I start? There's a fear of how authentic do I be? There's all of these fears on there, and I love that routine that you're asking about, and that great analogy, as Lulu said. What would you say then is when they get started? What's the biggest mistake that you're seeing in communicating and articulating your business? Whether it's on blogs or on their websites, what are the biggest mistakes that you see these entrepreneurs do when they're communicating their journey or their business?
One thing that I see is that they are so focused on, oh, I have this service, I have this product, and I only talk about that. And you don't get the whole picture. You don't get the journey. You don't see the little kid who loved this color, and that's why that color appears somewhere, or that color means something. You don't hear the story about the chef that loved to sit at the kitchen table and watch grandma do whatever in the kitchen, and has evolved that recipe into something world class. So it's being personal with building the relationship, sharing the whole aspect of you, giving encouragement, giving inspiration, and sharing what's timely. I mean, if you're taking a class and they're having a free lecture, share that information. If you have something that you discovered, this book is great, this gave me really good ideas. No, you don't have to have an Amazon link in there. You just give the complete book title and the author, and there's an endorsement that you have learned something from that. So it's sharing information and being inspiring with how you are coping with what's going on and what moves you forward, and building the relationship. First and foremost, it's building the relationship, and then being consistent with your blog so that you show up at the same time, the same day, not necessarily the same time, but there are a lot of apps that can help you, be consistent on the same time and the same day, and building the relationship that you continue and nurture that relationship with your list.
Yeah, and I think now more than ever, being able to get your voice out there written is available to folks, and like it's never been before. And so I know you told me once that there was some keys before you decide to just go out and commit to doing something else. You said there was 4 things that you should probably consider before you're committing. Are you comfortable sharing those with us?
Committing to
Before you commit to write, you said there were 4 things when we chatted a while ago that you need to know before you commit to actually
oh
starting up and writing.
okay. So knowing your why, knowing who you are meant to impact.
Your audience, right?
Yes, know your audience, and as far as know the vehicle, whether it's a book or a blog, or and I would give the caveat that being active on social media and having a lot of friends on social media does not translate into a publisher that's going to say, "Oh, you're an influencer." It's the number of people that you have on your list that makes the publisher lean into, "Oh, this is an influencer," and also what you are asking, what you are delivering, how you are having an impact when you share your core message, how you are opening them up to changing their life. When I say your story matters and no one can tell your story from your perspective except you, then you think of, okay, I know that there's something that I've been holding back because I was afraid of judgment. But if it's me sharing what is my truth, nobody else has my truth because I own that. So it's how you are impacting the world and giving them an invitation to tell their own story, to own their own story.
So I said your why. I'm putting it in the chat for everybody. Your why, your audience, what vehicle will you use, and how you want to impact the world.
Yes.
I think that's great because you got to know your destination before you can start any kind of a journey like that for sure. If somebody's listening to this today and they say, I want to just kind of dabble, are there any great writing books, like writing books about books that you would be willing to recommend for somebody who says, I have a story to tell, I just don't even know where to start?
There are so many great books out there. I Getting a blank journal and starting your writing practice is and asking the question, what is my message? What is it that I am here to have an impact on the world with? And then reading. I mean, reading what draws you in, and so that you recognize, oh, this is how that author really described things, and this detail really put me in the story. That's another caveat that I would emphasize, that when you are writing, that you don't skimp on the details, that you make it as juicy as you can. You don't say, "Oh, I went to such and such and we did X and that's it." I mean, what kind of a day was it? I mean, what was the environment? I mean, one of the writing prompts was, talk about your last networking event. And she said, well, there was BNI and it was a lunch meeting and there were 27 people there. Okay, but BNI meetings happen at a country club or in the back of a coffee shop. So did you all go get styrofoam cups? Did you have um, China crystal? Did you have bagels? Did you have roast beef? No, those details. Were you sitting on at Formica tables, or were they folding chairs that creaked every time someone moved and the speaker was annoyed? know, Put me in the room. I always crave those details, and you could always take something out. But if you're just doing a brain dump with all of this, tell me what happened. I want to know everything that happened. You were wearing a purple shirt? Great. I know anything that gets me to envision where you were.
That was huge. Put me in the room. I put in the chat, don't skip on the details. Mindy loves the great tips. So I know we talked before and, we don't have time to probably do them all, but what are your top tips and like strategies to unleash the story within you? So do you have any quick, how do you just like thinking, because there's so many stories we could tell. Would you agree?
Right there. We have a million stories within us. And so first of all, I think the biggest thing that you can do for yourself is give yourself permission to create that writing practice for yourself. Have that sacred writing time that you are going to show up on the page consistently. So every time you sit down and you pour out onto the page, that makes room for something else to show up and for the universe to tap you on the shoulder and say, okay, I want you to know this now. So first of all, create your writing practice and figure out what it is that you want to be visible with. The story that has made you who you are and compels you to do what you do. There's something that was your trigger. I kept a journal since I was 11, but I didn't start really publishing my own stuff until I had my second breast cancer experience. And I couldn't wait any longer to write my book. And my whole mission is to be there for the reluctant writers, the women who will feel invisible and silent, that their story matters. And I am a witness and I am here. And the tears come because I'm just so passionate about it that if you need somebody to say, I see you and I hear you, then I'm her. And find that person for yourself and get your story out there, because I guarantee you someone is waiting to hear it.
And I just appreciate your authenticity. And, we often can use our tragedies to really be our destiny. And I think, that's the power, because the same wind is blowing on us all, as Jim Rohn says. It's the set of the sail that really helps us be able to navigate where and what we want to do. So I just appreciate that. And we were teasing that Barbara Walters makes people cry. And I guess I just did that. Hey, Barbara, you got some issues there. No, I'm just teasing with you. But I think you have such a great ease of way with people that is safe, that allows them to be able to open up and share. And that's a gift for sure. And especially when it comes to some sensitive things that are people you're trying to pull out of people. Now, I know we have a couple minutes remaining here. Is there anything else that I didn't ask you that you wanted to share with the audience? And then I'll ask you kind of how people can engage with you further.
Just to emphasize the fact that there's something that you know about yourself that you guard. And if you started writing about it in your journal, it may deliver a message that has more power than you could ever imagine.
So it sounds like your number one tip today is journal, 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 whether you think you have a story or not, whether you have dyslexia like me or not, right? So I love it. Thank you for sharing. I know you've moved a lot of the people. There's going to be a huge replay, and you're going to go share how to be able to engage with them in the comments on the YouTube channel as well as on the Facebook group, so they don't have to write anything down. We'll make sure they get it. But share with folks, kind of what you're up to and what that mentoring looks like. If somebody said, you know what, I'm ready to get this sucker out of my brain and onto paper, or I've done a lot of this work already, how would they engage with you?
They can go to my website, yourwritingmentor.com, and schedule some time with me. I have free trainings that are going to be happening on coming up, and they could, ask Mary at yourwritingmentor.com. They could just drop me an email and say, tell me about what's going on. I would love to participate. And I congratulate them on being curious about the next steps, because everyone has a book in them. And I know it's scary. I know it's scary. And
it really is.
Your story matters, and no one can tell your story from your perspective except you.
So well said. And I know you have, 4-month book mentorship programs. You have all kinds of coaching and all kinds of, you could even ghostwrite if you needed to. So check it out. I never thought I would be writing anything. And it was because of people like you that we were able to get that message out, So don't be afraid and really do reach out to Mary. She's a wealth of information and just so kind and gentle. She'll be easy with you, I promise. Well, with that, thank you so much for joining us. We really appreciate it. And we'll see everybody here in the audience next Thursday at 10 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. time and all time zones in between. Well, we'll bring you another great speaker and interview for you and your business. So thanks so much. Take care. Take charge. We'll see you over the top. Bye-bye, everybody. Thanks again, Mary.
Thanks.